Welcome to Athens Happens. I'm Ben Peters, a news editor at The New Political. Athens Happens is a weekly news podcast brought to you by TNP reporters dedicated to explaining the nuances of Athens and state politics. You can find new episodes every Friday at thenewpolitical.com, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, or wherever else podcasts can be downloaded. This week, we're going to discuss the prices of consumer goods at a campus market and see how they compare to stores off campus. Then, we'll discuss climate change, the consequences it could have on Athens, and what Ohio U plans to do to mitigate its effects. And a student senate town hall meeting where skateboarders expressed concern over the university dismantling their makeshift skate park. First, we're going to examine price differences between common grocery store items found in campus markets, such as Jefferson Marketplace, and off-campus stores like CVS and Kroger. I'm joined by digital editor Sarah Donaldson, who tracked these product prices. How are you, Miss Donaldson?
I'm doing well, Ben. You know, I feel like I always go to the weather when I am on this podcast. I'm always like, what's the weather like out today? And today it is very cold, which makes me sad. Yeah. But beyond that, doing very well.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So you went around to several different stores off campus and on campus to compare how, household items, essentially, and snacks, food, are marked up at campus stores compared to off-campus stores. So what items did you compare?
So I compared more than 10 items when I first went to Jefferson Marketplace, which is the on-campus market. I probably, I walked around for about half an hour and I just wrote down prices of anything that I was like, yeah, I'd probably buy this as a college student. Mm-hmm. But then when I got to CVS and Kroger, I found 10 items that I could make a direct comparison of that I thought would look like a pretty general grocery list for a college student living in a dorm or living off campus. So the 10 items that I ended up picking for the infographic, and again, I did compare these all. On the infographic, it's a little more broad. We've kind of just got a picture of what the item is, but I did compare exactly like down to the brand when I was doing these price comparisons. So we had Sara Lee 100% whole wheat. So we had a loaf of that. That was one of the items. A 2% or a half gallon of 2% milk, 24 tablets of Advil, so like, a medicine bottle.
Yeah.
1 pack of 3 condoms, so just like a generic pack of Trojan condoms, a box of double stuffed Oreos, 1 jar of 13-ounce Nutella, a 12-pack of Coke. The one thing that I found was really hard to make a comparison of were paper towels, because for some reason, like, they only sold like single rolls of paper towels in Jefferson Market, whereas CVS, they only sold like a pack of 2 paper rolls. And then of course Kroger had like every option of paper towels you could imagine.
Right.
So that was one I kind of had to go by like the price per roll. A dozen of eggs and 1 cup, so just like 1 singular cup of Kraft mac and cheese, easy mac and cheese that you make in the microwave. So those were the 10 items that we decided to compare.
So a lot of these were specific name brands.
Yes. So I generally did go for specific name brands because I didn't want to go, because I knew I'd be able to find them at Jeff, CVS, and Kroger. I wanted to make the most direct comparison to see if there really was like a markup difference.
Right. And so what'd you find?
So generally, I did find that the prices at Jeff Market and CVS were, for the most part, more expensive than Kroger. And
can we also say which CVS was this?
I was at the CVS on Court Street, and then the Kroger, obviously, in Athens. It's on East State Street. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So for the most part, I did find that the prices were, it kind of went from Jeff Market was the most expensive to CVS was a little bit cheaper, but I say a little bit because CVS was pretty comparable in price to Jeff Market, and then Kroger was the cheapest. When we totaled up the carts for this like 10 product shopping list, it was a $41.14 bill at Jeff Market, a $40.38 bill at CVS. So really only $1 cheaper at CVS. And there were like 1 or 2 products that were actually a little more expensive at CVS. So it's really not much of a difference between CVS and Jeff Market. But it was a big difference at Kroger. It was only $30.02 at Kroger. So it was like $10 or $11 cheap. So, we consider Jeff Market a grocery store on campus, but it's got pretty comparable prices to what a convenience store is, like CVS or a drugstore. So it definitely, the prices were more expensive for sure at Jeff Market and at CVS compared to Kroger.
Yeah. Did you get any indication of why that might be?
No, I didn't really ask around. I kind of just wanted to do a direct data comparison. I think it might be easy, or it might be interesting to do like a follow-up story on something like this, maybe talking to people that work somewhere in culinary about their pricing. I was talking to Cole Behrens, our managing editor, because he came with me to Jefferson Market, and we were talking kind of about how we noticed that some of the products that were very similar in price to like Kroger and CVS, I'm trying to find an example. I don't know if I have it on here. But some of the products that you see like a suggested retail price on the bag. So for the example that comes to mind for me are Sun Chips. And Sun Chips are not on here. On the bag of Sun Chips at Jefferson Marketplace, there's like a suggested retail price printed on that bag. And that price is always usually pretty similar at Kroger and at Jefferson Market. So it seems like they don't really mark those up. Another interesting thing that I did notice was, so the university has that like deal kind of with Pepsi.
Yeah.
So the Coke products in the marketplace are a lot more expensive. To get a 12-pack of Coke at Kroger, it would have been $2.99. It was $6.85 at Jeff. It's like literally so much more to get Coke.
Yeah.
And it was like another one that was really a huge, it was literally almost an 100% markup. At Kroger, a singular cup of Kraft Easy Mac mac and cheese was $1.25, whereas at Jeff Market it was $2.19. So some of these were like pretty substantial markups.
Wow. Were there any other items that caught your attention?
One of them that I kind of found funny. We put condoms on there because like it was kind of like, you know, that is something that college students are buying, and I do see a lot of college students kind of utilizing their swipes for condoms as well. The price of condoms, actually, it was $3.19 at Kroger and $3.29 at Jeff Market. At CVS, it was $6.99. So it was so much more expensive to buy condoms at CVS than it was at Jefferson Market and Kroger, which to me is like, you know, condoms are more of like a drugstore, like pharmacy type thing that you would buy, but it's so much more expensive at CVS. So that was just kind of like a weird outlier for me because they were very similar in price. And I don't know if that was one of those that had the price marked on the box. So that may be why it was cheaper at Jeff Market, but they were like pretty comparable in price at Jeff Market to Kroger. But at CVS, it was just like this, like double the price basically.
Anything else, Sarah?
I don't think so. You know, it was some of the products, there wasn't really like a huge difference in price, like more generic products like eggs or paper towels and stuff like that. It was when you got into the more name brand stuff that you did see the increase in price. I mean, double stuffed Oreos at Jeff Market were $6.85, whereas they were $2.99 at Kroger. Nutella was $5.25 at Jeff Market, whereas it was only $3.99 at Kroger. And it is interesting to take into account that, you know, the cheapest prices are somewhere that you either have to take a bus or a car to get to from campus. So that does kind of put these, you know, underclassmen students at a disadvantage, which is why I think it is an important story to kind of look at, because, you know, if you're an underclassman and you're living in the dorms and you don't have a car, your options to buy groceries are primarily CVS or the markets, but you are going to be able to save a little more money at Kroger. So you have to take the bus or have to take a method of public transportation.
You know, same for upperclassmen who might not have cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Too. Yeah, it's really anyone that doesn't have a car. And I mean, obviously there's the bike trail when the weather's nice and stuff like that. But it is interesting that, you know, you do have to go a bit further off campus to get those cheaper products.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Have a nice night.
You too. We'll be right back to talk about climate change in Athens with Abby Neff.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maggie Prosser, editor-in-chief here at The New Political. Each and every day, I work alongside reporters, editors, producers, and managers who put their heart and soul into the journalism we produce. Here at TNP, we have the honor to tell the stories of the residents of this small town we call home. We're looking for local businesses and other ventures to help us continue funding for our independent journalism, including the podcast you're listening to right now. TNP would love to advertise for you through our website, our biannual magazine, or right here on Athens Happens. If interested, please send an inquiry email to execedit@thenewpolitical.com for more details. We hope working together can support both your initiative and fuel TNP's strong, reliable, and essential journalism here in Athens.
Now, I'm joined by staff writer Abby Neff to discuss the impact climate change has on Athens and greater Southeast Ohio, and what Ohio University plans to do to mitigate the damages. Abby Neff, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
So we messed up the recording for this one, so we're doing it again on my laptop the night before the podcast goes live.
Yes, we
and
are.
so on this episode, we had a running gag where we talked about the weather.
Yes.
What's the weather like today, Miss Neff?
It's still cold, but it's like a good kind of cold. Again, I love the winter, so any cold to me is like fun.
And this is the climate change segment of
Yes,
this
it
podcast.
is. Yes, it is.
We love weather.
Yes, we do.
So how is climate change affecting Southeast Ohio?
So Southeast Ohio is experiencing climate change in a way that not many parts of the state actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Athens County experienced extreme dryness this year, along with 57% of the state. Lately, the region has received a decent amount of precipitation, according to the United States Drought Monitor, just because we're moving towards a different season, so there's not as much dryness. But one thing in particular that the region experiences is flooding. Obviously, we have the Hocking River surrounding our campus, and we also have the Ohio River nearby. It's a natural disaster that is exacerbated by rising temperatures.
Flooding is?
Yes.
Okay.
The Ohio River has a history of excessive flooding, including a fatal flood in 1937 and a recent flood occurring in February 2018. And in 1969, the Hocking River was actually redirected to travel outside of Ohio University's West Green campus to combat the flooding issue.
Yeah, which we talked about on the inaugural episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
With Mr. Colverans.
Yes, we did. But yeah, those are just some of the ways that climate change has started to affect the region, at least with the environment. In terms of how it'll affect the region in the future, according to the 4th National Climate Assessment, which was published by professionals like professors and federal employees in late 2018, climate change is a threat to the Midwest agriculture industry and its food supply. And one important part of the Athens community is the farmers market. So it could threaten its stability and production if the climate assessment's prediction is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the prediction of that assessment?
That climate change is a threat to the Midwest agriculture industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did it explain how? Through droughts specifically?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So who in Athens or Southeast Ohio in general would be most affected by climate change?
So the people that would be most affected are low-income residents and families, which is also included in the climate assessment, but also with a lot of academics that I interviewed, like Geoff Buckley and Austin Babrow, who's a professor in the communications school. Like the people who are most affected are ones who have disabilities, who are very poor, very young, and very old. Indivisible Appalachian Ohio is actually a non-profitable organization within Athens that provides supplies for people in need, especially when they're affected by extreme weather events. And last year, Buckley actually helped out with the fundraiser, and he said that the people that he met, everything they owned was in their car. So these people are obviously in need, and they don't have the resources that a lot of middle class and upper class families have. And a region's ability to respond to these events is put to the test. And since it's such like rural areas, they're very isolated. They don't have resources like cities do. They don't have access to like many hospitals even around, things like that.
What don't low-income residents in Southeast Ohio have that other people might do that they are using to prevent future climate crises?
They're just isolated. So in a city, for example, like if you were in like California, you have access to electric cars, whereas people in like the southeastern areas, they don't have that access because they don't have the funds to do it. So I guess it's more about having access to the funds, because obviously people in California have like a wealthier income than people in southeastern Ohio.
Right. So a family living in Columbus, Ohio, for example, might have easier access to something like solar panels than people in Southeast Ohio might, whether that be because of socioeconomic status or just because the region, there might not be a place to get solar panels in Parkersburg, West Virginia, for example.
Yeah. People in southeastern Ohio some of them are very concerned about the climate crisis, but a lot of people are just trying to stay afloat, and that's their concern.
So is the university doing anything right now actively to combat an impending climate crisis? Yeah,
so they actually signed an initiative to be carbon neutral by 2075 in 2007 and launched the Office of Sustainability in 2011. Ryan Foyt, a professor of geography in the College of Arts and Sciences, works as the Sustainable Administration Hub coordinator, and I interviewed him and asked him, what is the Office of Sustainability? What do they do for the university? What do they do for the area of Athens, Ohio? He believes that the university's efforts are strong and encouraging, and they actually plan to unveil a new climate and sustainability plan by the end of the semester with 5-year goals looking towards 2024, which is a lot closer than their 2075 goal originally. Other professors believe that the university is not doing enough. I mentioned Babrow, and he's a professor of environmental communication in the Scripps College of Communication. And he's more encouraged by the local efforts by people who don't work for the university. The climate strike at Village Bakery, for example.
Which happened earlier this semester.
Yes, actually, it did. Those people, he believes, they don't have as much on the line as maybe faculty members do, so they're willing to do more. And he believes that the people who contributed the least to the climate crisis will be impacted the most.
You said that people on faculty have more on the line in terms of, what do you mean by that?
So on the line, basically, they might, if they want to speak out against the university's efforts to combat climate change, they may be threatened in some way.
They might face repercussions
exactly.
from
Yes.
people higher up.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So did anybody you talked to indicate possible ways to maybe reverse some of the damage that has been done to the climate, or maybe stop this impending crisis from coming?
Honestly, none of them had true answers for me. I know I had been watching, obviously, Greta Thunberg, who's a Swiss advocate for climate. I saw a video online of her explaining that one way we can combat climate change is planting trees. And I know that you had a discussion with Mr. McGee about that.
We did a podcast with Pat McGee 2 days ago, and he was complaining about how the city spends money frivolously on things that he doesn't think they should be spending it on. So I said, Mr. McGee, what would you prefer city council to spend money on? And he paused for a few seconds, and he was like, apple trees, so that community members can walk around and grab an apple when they're walking to class.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a desire for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else, Ms. Neff?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back after the ad break to talk about local skateboarders and their dilemma with the university.
Hey all, Sarah Horn here. I'm the digital manager at the New Political. And if I had to pick the best decision I made as a college freshman, joining this outstanding publication would be it. At TMP, I've had the experience of creating both compelling written and digital content. My understanding of local politics has also immensely improved. TMP makes integration between written and digital work for staffers a priority and offers the unique opportunity to have a wide portfolio of clips. Not only that, but working for this publication helped me land an internship in Washington, D.C. as a digital productions intern for The Hill. Our publication is award-winning, independent, nonpartisan, and run by a dedicated team of student journalists. Apart from its content, the New Political has brought me some of my closest friends. The people who I work with make my job fun and fulfilling, and they never cease to amaze me with their kindness, collaborative spirits, and humor. If you too want to join the New Political, come to our all-staff meetings Sunday evening at 7 p.m. in Scripps Hall 210, or reach out to me at shorne, shorne, @thenewpolitical.com.
Finally, we're going to discuss a recent Student Senate town hall where local skateboarders voiced their concerns over the university dismantling their makeshift skate park on a South Green basketball court. I'm joined by digital editor Tim Zelina, who covered the event.
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. Do you have any comments on the weather?
Yeah, actually. I am freezing to death every time I walk outside my house. So it's a little insufferable.
It's cold. I'm wearing a hat right now in the stew. So what were these skaters asking of Student Senate?
So when I originally reported the story, I actually made a pretty significant error, and it was a bit of a mess, but basically the skaters are requesting the maintenance of an old makeshift skate park.
Mm-hmm.
And for a little context, I reported this story with the New Political, and I made a mistake in saying that they were asking for a new skate park, which is something that I should have I guess, confirmed with them before, obviously putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they were very understanding of it, and Noah Yonkers, the skater, agreed to talk with me again for another story, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
And he basically told me how the skaters a few years back, well, one of them anyway, there's a basketball court on South Green near McKinnon.
Yeah, kind of by
And-
South Beach.
Yeah. And apparently the hoops were like in disrepair. It was just nobody was using it for anything. So a couple skaters brought a couple like little obstacles and stuff there.
Mhm.
And over time it grew into just this sort of makeshift skate park. And they said it was a big hangout spot. The same people would be there like day in and day out. You
Yeah.
could meet new people. It was just sort of cool little like mini community thing that sort of sprang up out of the ground.
Yeah.
And so a couple months back, the university was repaving the pavement on this basketball court. And they moved the stuff aside, and so the skating group all thought they were in the clear here and that they could get away with it. But the university was like, see you later, boy. And they took the skate park equipment.
That was amazing.
They took the skate park equipment and never gave it back, and sent an email to them saying that you can't have your own personal equipment on the courts. And they were
Mhm.
like, we understand, but nobody was using this. It seemed like it was okay. Now our equipment's gone. And so they've just been asking the university, like, can we get this back? It's a lot of people point out that they have a skate park in the city, but the argument they made was actually pretty decent. It's pretty far to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a lot of disrepair. And
Where is it?
I'm actually not sure.
Okay.
But they said it's like 30 minutes off campus or something like that. It's a little far away. Or from the residence halls anyway.
Right.
Like walking. And I guess the obstacles there are very sort of intense. So like new skaters would sort of risk hurting themselves almost.
Yeah.
And so since they don't want to walk an hour to skate on stuff that they don't even know how to skate on, they've just been skating around like the streets and the pedestrian walkways, and they're like, we recognize like this is kind of a safety hazard. We don't have anywhere else to really go.
Yeah, it's a safety hazard not only for them but for pedestrians.
Oh, absolutely. And for cars, I mean, it's just kind of I think we've all seen them walking around campus. People skating around, they ride right in front of you.
I mean, I lived in Washington Hall my freshman year, and so I would walk out the back door. It was right by their little makeshift skate park on South Green. And it was just kind of cool. I always liked walking past it. Like they'd be hanging out, and I would just kind of it was like I got to watch a little X Games on my way to class, and I would notice the same people there every day. So
yeah, absolutely. It was one of those things that like it's just sort of a nice little community within the Athens community, I guess. I mean, they said they even started like a group chat, and they just all know each other by now, and so it's just kind of they don't have anywhere to all hang out anymore, and the group's kind of drifting apart because of that.
So what was the university's justification for getting rid of their makeshift park?
Basically, they just said the spot is for, a basketball court. So it was more that it was never really officially permitted in the first place. So they didn't really need a reason to take it down, I guess. And, so the university just sort of like said, you can't do this here. Find somewhere else to do it. And exactly who was in charge of that decision, I was not able to determine. I emailed residence life, maintenance, and recreation, and all of them sort of passed the buck to each other saying, no, I think they had something to do with it. So I don't think anyone really knows who exactly made this decision, just that someone probably, said we got to repair this, and then someone else probably said, can we just get this stuff out here? I don't think it was ever like official, this isn't allowed.
So were these skaters ever able to retrieve their, like the ramps that they put up or the rails that they had out there, or are they just...
I'm pretty sure they like tossed it because it's
right.
It's property that's just sitting abandoned almost.
Yeah, it was on public property too, their stuff. So is there any, resolution in sight for these skaters? Are they actively lobbying the university to try to make something for them to use?
Yeah, they went to Student Senate, and Student Senate said, they'd try their best, but there's only so much Student Senate can do, obviously.
Right.
And quite frankly, I don't think they're going to see a resolution. I don't think it's on the university's priorities at all. It's definitely sort of a legal hazard if they allow this makeshift park that they're not maintaining.
Mm-hmm.
So I really doubt they'll see anything happen, but I'm hoping for their sake they do get some kind of space to,
Sure.
skate on.
Sure. Anything else, Tim?
I guess just as a whole, this I enjoyed writing this story just because it wasn't something that, when I first went to the Student Senate meeting, it was I was reporting on basically the student groups were sort of like given a time to petition the university, and not very many people showed up. And so I was like, this is kind of a boring night almost. But then these guys came through, and I don't know, it was something I'd heard of before, or just kind of a cool chance encounter.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much, Tim. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that wraps it up here on Athens Happens. Make sure to tune in every Friday for new episodes that shed light on the politics that impact all of our lives. Remember, you can find the show on the New Political's website, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and on YouTube in a video podcast format. Also, be sure to check out our website at thenewpolitical.com, where we regularly report stories on what really happens here in Athens, and follow @thenewpolitical on social media. Thank you all so much. Have a great week.